Hello, welcome to the latest episode of The Imperfect Citizens with me, Simon Duffy, and my friend.
Glyn Butcher.
And Glyn and I think we're going to try and talk a little bit about help, good help, peer support,
Yeah.
all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'm going to start with an observation, Glyn, see what you make of this. I've started thinking about this a long time ago, just help generally. I'd started my career working with people with learning difficulties. I'd visited an institution, which really shocked me. And then I got working with people in the community and started thinking about help there. And it was very interesting, I think. I think, like, if you think about society as a whole, we seem to have two completely contradictory things we believe, both of which to me seem false. So on the one hand, we seem to think it's a common thing people say that the point of life is to be independent. Like, and when you ask, well, what does that mean? Well, you don't need anybody. So, like, actually, there's one idea which is like human beings, the whole point of growing up, of building your life is to not need anybody, which seems kind of crazy given that actually human life is all about
Independence.
relationships. Yeah, you've got the independence idea. And then you've got this kind of other idea, which is, oh, you know what's really good? To help people. I want to help people. And like we never what's I mean, there's nothing wrong with that in a way, but it's really weird because we never really think about what help is. Like we more focus on the giving of it than what it means in people's lives. I think it's a very kind of almost like a transactional charity vision of help. So we believe on the one hand that nobody should really need any help, and then the other hand we believe, oh, we've got to give people lots of help, as if it's something like our gift to people to
I
give
think
them help.
I think there's also another element to that is what does it mean to the person giving the help as well?
Yeah, well, we don't think about any of that, I
No, we
think.
don't. We don't.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah,
But as you were speaking, I was thinking
yeah,
about what does it feel like for the person giving the
yeah.
help as well?
And I like, so I know this, I keep doing this, but when I remember sitting in actually in France with my mum and my wife Nicola, we had a summer holiday in France, and I was reading a book about Jewish history, and I discovered the Jewish philosopher called Maimonides, and he has something called the 8 degrees of help, good help, and that's the first time ever, having studied philosophy and social justice and all these things, I'd ever heard anybody talk about the difference between good help and bad help. I thought it was very interesting. And he, I could probably try and give you the 8 degrees of help now, but the basic idea is that actually really good help is almost invisible. Like real help just disappears into a good community where people are taking care of each other and making sure everybody's okay. And then he goes through different kind of help gets worse the more undignified it becomes, basically. That was his theory, and I always thought that was kind of very cool, but really interesting that we never talk about it. Like it's never brought up at school and in just in ordinary everyday life. Like, what is helping people? It's quite a tricky business anyway. We know that. We know it in our families. Like people we love, we want to help. We sometimes don't know how to help anyway, do we?
In my experience of when people said to me throughout mental health services or children's services or care homes or institutional help is when somebody says, "How can I help you?" What they meant to me or what they communicated to me was, "How can I disempower you?
Yeah.
How can I make you weak so I can become strong?
Yeah.
How can you become invisible and I can be the central point?" So people's intention of help were distorted in a way that was unhelpful. That was my interpretation of somebody trying
Yeah.
to help me. It wasn't really about me. They wanted to say words with no meaning. I think the difference between the People Focus Group, Citizen Network, Imperfect Citizen podcast is when we say we want to help someone, we really do. So it's the authenticity of it.
Yeah, but yes, and what does one of the ways that works, isn't it, is that people kind of say things like, "How can I help you?" and what they're doing is really, what can I do for you instead of you doing it? That's one of the
That's
ways
what I
bad
mean.
help creeps in, isn't
Yeah,
it? I
yeah.
think, which is this, there's a bunch of things you can't do, so somebody else is going to do them for you. And my friend Wendy, who I did the book with, Wendy Perez, she talks about the opposite of that is people knowing when to come in and when to come out. Wendy does need help with stuff, but she doesn't need help with everything.
No,
And she also needs a chance to risk doing things, and she also needs a chance to learn doing things. And so, a lot of it is just, and some of it can be just quite nice and playful and open. It's not like tricksy. It's just like, oh, is this a good time? And asking people, was that helpful, or should I have backed off then, Wendy? Or like we're afraid also to have conversations about good help, I think.
I agree with Wendy because when anybody's ever tried to help me, all they've ever do is hinder me. But when everybody's trying to help me to help myself, that's when I've developed, that's when I've grown, that's when I've changed, that's when I've had a different shifting mindset.
Yeah,
That's where I've seen myself. That's where I've been able to problem solve and be able to create something different. I failed a lot of times through learning, but the point is I learned through failing.
yeah. Failure is an incredibly important part of human life, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
especially for me, because that's where I've learned had most of my most important learnings.
yeah. Why do we struggle to think about help like this? What is it? Because it's quite general. It's not just services, I'd say. I think
Most people
it's a part of everyday
never
life.
fail.
It's this problem about, yeah, not understanding what good help is, not willing to talk about it, not willing to even risk having a conversation about it in a funny way.
Helping's overcomplicated.
Yeah,
People overcomplicate helping someone because to assume what people need instead of asking the person what they need. It's what they want to provide rather than what the person needs.
yeah. I remember one of the things that was a real learning for me actually in the first research report that I did about PFG. This was, uh, in the beginning PFG. So, Glyn is a managing director of People Focus Group in Doncaster, PFG. Um, but, it started to invent a way of people supporting each other, and it created, you don't really use this term anymore, but we had this term support buddies. And support buddies was a bit like a volunteer, really. It's like you're spending some time helping people. And after a while, I think everybody just felt, no, we don't need that. We don't need that kind of language, because actually helping somebody, if you are helping them in the right way, you're getting as much out of it as the
Yeah,
person
and
who's
that's what
receiving.
I meant. What are you
Yeah.
receiving?
Yeah. So that's again another really interesting part of it, isn't it? And again, I think because if, natural help is actually the really best kind of help is a relationship, isn't it? Where
Yeah,
you're each looking out for each other.
it's relational help, relational care, relational compassion, relationship nurturing
Yeah.
are all important part of helping someone.
And at the moment, we live in a society though where help has become, I mean, this is another strange side of it. So we have something like social care, which is like the professional helping service that we pay taxes for, which has been historically massively underfunded. And what people kind of go, oh, well, we can't afford more care. But care isn't really that thing. I mean, social care, the professional service, is a tiny part of the care we offer each other anyway in ordinary life. Carers, people who are providing a lot of assistance to disabled people or others, people, elderly people, people in ill health. If you add up all the care that's provided, it it's way more than's provided by the NHS, way more than that's provided by social care. We don't even mention that. So
No,
somehow we say, like, there's this professional service that we can't afford, care's too expensive. On the other hand, people are busy, often in very stressed lives, trying to take care of each other. Um, yeah, we don't think about it very sensibly as a society, do we? I don't think.
at the people focus group, we have a zero time posting people anywhere. People need to go someone.
Yeah,
We go with them because we know people don't go. And what people need most of the time is just someone to be there,
yeah,
someone to sit with them, someone to travel with them, someone to be an advocate, someone to be able to stand up for them. They know what they want, and that's why we need to treat people as adults, even with people with learning disabilities and mental health. We're all adults, but people speak to us as like children. No, I'm an adult. Speak to me like an adult. I got rights. I've got choices. I know my own opinions. I just need somebody to help me get there, because sometimes things get very confused. So, as an example, I'm a managing director of the People Focus Group. I go public speaking all around the world, but I've got a contract with my bank that only allows me to get £20 out a day. And if I go in demanding more, they won't give it me because I signed a contract. Why? Because I'm a functioning addict. I don't take drugs anymore. I don't take alcohol anymore. I don't gamble anymore. But to protect me from myself, I've got a contract with a bank who helps me not get into debt.
Yeah.
And also, I've got agreement that they'll never offer me any credit.
Yeah.
So we get
Yeah.
help in many
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
ways to enable me to stay safe and well.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people with that.
Yeah. And actually, yeah, so discipline in a way can be very helpful, can't it? Really, like rules, structures can be helpful, I
Mm.
think. Um, I think that's something I learned when I was working in Glasgow. I learned from smarter people around me who would say, well, actually, what this person really needs is some guidelines, some structures that
Mm.
so that their life can flourish. We need to design those for that person, with their agreement. So it's not like an institution where you have no control over
Mm.
that. But there's nothing wrong in saying, actually, no, to support this person well, we need to understand their needs properly in detail and work out with them a safe way of
Mm.
supporting them to be the best that they can be.
And I think the difference between now, it goes both ways, especially within strategy service. I can only talk about Doncaster. So I've had spent a lifetime in services, people helping me to recover. Now, as the director of the People Focus Group, I'm now working into R-Dash services as a reverse mentor to the
Yeah.
CEO, Toby Lewis, CEO of the trust, to teach him how to uh, work, enable, communicate within community. So we all need help.
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
the helper and the helped.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's about inverting the pyramid of power. It's about inverting it. But everybody needs help at some time.
Yeah.
And how do we then find the common grounds between us all to share that hope, to share that help, to share that need?
Yeah, you get a feeling actually like part of the sickness in our society today, when you look at some of the leaders we have, is that they've not got the necessary humility to get the help they need.
Humbleness,
Yeah,
pride before a fall.
yeah,
But we all need help. And I mean, I've gone from a person who was absolutely scared to death about making mistakes, and today I'm a person who welcomes mistakes because that's how I learn.
yeah,
I've completely shifted my mindset. I love mistakes. That means I see mistakes now as learnings and opportunities. But I saw them before as somebody to hit me with a big stick with over head and blame me and criticize me. And again, how have I helped myself? It's okay having people help you, but how do I take responsibility for me?
yeah.
How do I help me? How do I help me every single day? I'm not going to stop being an addict because I'm an addict. The matter is, I put things in place to stop me carrying out addictive behaviours. I'm always going to get lost in strange places. So what have I got? I've got help mechanisms to get me to and from the people focus group and to do my talks. I can do my talks, but I can't get there. So it's what enables me to be sat here with you right now. For me, to be able to sat here right now is because I feel safe with you. I've got a friendship with you. I've got a relationship with you. It's okay to say no to you. Yeah, all these things enable me to sit with you, and that's how you help me through the conditions that we've created in this ecosystem.
Is it possible to imagine though a world where we could be more open about these things, like from very early age? Think of all the families who are struggling. I mean, we've got a enormous growth of kids going into families breaking down, kids going into residential care. It's a terrible situation. A lot of it's driven by poverty, but it's also driven by the fact that families, in a way, don't know how to get help, don't know where help would come from, and then when the system tries to help them, often it makes it worse, tramples all over everybody. Um, yeah, how do as a society we just almost just talk about this more? Ask for help, like asking for help is pretty important, isn't it? And knowing how to receive help and knowing how to manage people's response is important. But there's no conversation about this in society, I don't
What I
think.
found within the people focus group, especially people at the older end of life, is that it was very shameful for us for help.
Yeah,
They were learnt to keep it in their family. They were learnt to keep it in the house. There were nobody telling your name, but there were no going to a counsellor or going to somewhere. It really had to be kept within the family to be not to bring shame on the family. I talked to a lot of Asian families around mental health, but that's seen as a curse. It's seen as something really bad. Homosexuality, people gay, people lesbian, coming out in different sexualities. Can't speak about any of that. You know what I mean? It just brings shame on all the family. No, and nobody, even in the culture of that community, they said everybody turn away from me, so they don't speak out for fear. But how do we get in a world where it's okay to say these things?
yeah. It's okay to say help.
Mm.
Yeah, and
I need help, you need help. It's
yeah,
okay to need
yeah,
help.
yeah. I was thinking about it as well that I was remembering a story from again back in the Glasgow days of when well we had a little crisis early on. Something was not going well. We needed some good support for somebody. And I remember thinking, oh, kind of like praying, please help. What? And then the word bounced back at me. I thought, hang on, I haven't done the most simple thing. I haven't asked people to help me solve this problem.
Yeah, ask.
And that was a kind of key moment. And I think that's also interesting. The process of asking for help is liberating. If you can, I guess, in some situations anyway. And it's also community building. I remember another story where a mother and her daughter, the mother was trying to imagine better support options for her daughter. Her daughter had learning disabilities. And the mother, um, it was my friend Suzanne who actually came up with this suggestion. She said to her, well, why don't we just invite friends and family round for tea to ask for ideas? Because the mother was saying, I just don't know what to do. I've got this little personal budget now, but I don't know what to do with it. And she said, well, but nobody will come. And Suzanne said, well, we'll send out this little card. And Suzanne said afterwards that like the house was packed, like friends, family. And the overwhelming thing people said was, we've always just been waiting to be asked. And then together, everybody came up with this brilliant plan,
Brilliant, brilliant.
loads of ideas. In fact, they hardly needed the budget anymore. you know. And so it just reminds me of like this process, this discomfort we have about talking about help is probably a real social problem. Like, because it's actually meaning that people's natural positive desire to be part of somebody's life in a really helpful way is
And
like
people,
turned off.
and people also feel like they need permission to ask. Nobody needs to be permission,
Yeah.
but they think they need permission to be able to ask something. And again, that's another myth that we need to expose. People can ask anything, but there's something ingrained that they feel they need to have permission to be able to ask for help.
There's a lot of things, isn't there? And we've kind of, so we're in this society where, yeah, help and the systems of help are still very institutional, still very professionalized. And yet we as a society haven't worked out really what good help means, how to ask for it, how to articulate it. Where's the hope, I suppose? There is hope, isn't there? How do we change this?
We change it through citizenship, we change it through voluntary sector, we change it with each person we have a conversation with, we change it with every household, with every street, with every borough, with every neighbourhood. We have to keep having these conversations, saying asking for help is not weak, it's strong.
Mm.
What's your understanding of help, what help means? Because a lot of people, when I speak to people in the wellness centre, what help is, they don't really understand the word help. How would you describe the word help? Because it's a powerful word. but what does it mean to people?
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, Wendy and I, in the everyday citizenship, we describe help as the fourth key to citizenship. So, actually, in building a good life, one of the things we need to do is find out the help we need and the help we can give. Like, so I think one part of help is it's just like it's a two-way relationship. It's always a two-way relationship. And it should fit into the life of building your citizenship, really. So it should fit into enabling you to become the citizen you ought to be. So it's not I think when people say things like it's to meet needs, this is all a bit of confusing language because
That's what I meant.
yeah, what needs? I mean, but actually, if you start to think, well, the point of my life is to myself. My life has its meaning. I have freedom. I have some resources. I'm building a life in my community, and I'm contributing to that community. So, what do I need to do that? Yes. So, what do I need to be there? What do I need to be present? What do I need to build relationships with other people? What do I need to uncover the gifts that I have and to offer them back out to the
Mm,
community? So, I think that the way we think about help is very much influenced by a sense of like what is almost the point of life. And if we have a very kind of narrow or materialistic point of life, it's to get stuff or it's to be independent, which kind of means I don't need any help. We so maybe I just need some skills to be independent. No,
mm,
that's not help really. The help that really matters is the help that helps us be the citizen we should be.
yeah.
That's the way I think about it. So for each individual, it's very different because each individual is both. I remember a lovely image that the philosopher Judith Snow, disabled woman, brilliant woman. It's just like jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? We've all got innie bits. We all need something,
Outfits.
and we've all got outy bits. We've all got something to give, and that's how we build community through this help, through acknowledging our innie and our outy bits, and bringing them together in community. And sometimes that help, like some things like point of things like personal budgets and stuff is to make sure people are in charge of the direction of their life so that the help that they get takes them in the right direction. So, unlike what can happen in an institutional environment where really you sacrifice your freedom in order to get help, no, help should be about realizing your freedom,
Yeah.
I think. I think
I,
that's how I think about it, Glenn.
when people say to me about help, I say, well, there's something that you want to improve, there's something you want to make better, or there's something that you want to change.
Yeah,
What is
yeah,
it that you want help for? Because in there, with people with disabilities in the wellness centre intake, it's when somebody says help, the first thing is what is, what do you mean by help? Because what I mean by help is different to what they mean. So it might be that they've got a dripping tap. It might be mean they hear voices and don't know how to stop the voices. It might be that they've got money in the pocket and they need taking to get some shopping. And a lot of the help within the wellness centre is very practical. But sometimes the help that people need is just where you just sit down and be quiet and sit with me. When we do the wardens, most of the things when we go on the wardens, because we've got a warden service, to 90 houses with an intake, we knock on the door, see what a person needs help with. Most of the time, it's just I need a conversation with somebody. I've not seen anybody for a full week. No neighbours, no family
yeah,
visited, and I need to connect with another human being. That's what help that I need. And that's fine. So we all need help in different ways, and I think it's important not to define that one way is the right way or the wrong way. But that's a question there. When somebody said I need help, it's a word to them. It's not necessarily what they need, and it's the word that they know that will get a response with say help.
yeah.
It
But
could
as
be cheese, it could be apples. The
yeah,
point I'm saying is they know if they say that word, somebody's going to take notice.
here in Doncaster at the wellness centre, that's true. It's not true everywhere, is it? I
No,
think no.
no.
I mean, think sometimes what happens if you say you need help, the system goes, well, what are the recommended list of helps we can offer? Yeah,
Helplines.
Yeah, and and do you meet the eligibility criteria for us to give you our limited number of things we can help you with in our limited number of ways?
And have we got the budget to help you?
Yeah,
We don't get paid for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's not a human thing, it's quite a systematic list approach, isn't it, really? And I mean, if you do need a medical procedure, then I guess I want somebody who really knows what they're doing.
Mm.
I want them to understand it, and I want them to deliver it well. I want to be respected and listened to through that process. But I do, in that sense, there are, I think, forms of help that are appropriately professionally packaged,
Yeah.
like brain surgery. I don't want you to do brain surgery
No.
on me, Glyn.
And help is not also instant. So if I want help from my brother to get on a train in his wheelchair,
Yeah,
I have to ring a couple of days before so they can get somebody to be in a train to put the ramp down because nobody else is allowed to do it. So
yeah,
again, help is not always instant. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
There's a
So,
process to get there.
yeah. I think I just like people to, I don't know, I think I'd like kids to feel like at school it was natural to, I wonder, because how natural does it feel at school to ask for help? I don't think it feels natural at school, does it?
Well, certainly worked for me that was years ago. But I don't know what it's
Yeah,
like now, but
yeah,
I can only go from my own experience. It wasn't a normal thing to do.
yeah.
It
I
was
think, and it's interesting, isn't it? I think, like maybe this is a bit idealistic, but I think when you think about a kind of a mother and a child, and a child's trying to do something and looks to the mother for help, there's nothing there's something very natural about that, and it's very natural generally, I think, for mothers to work out also when to allow a child to try something and when to step in a little bit. That's a kind of almost perhaps an idealized version of help, isn't it? But when that child goes to school, don't you think a lot of the time shame very quickly comes into the picture, doesn't it? I think I look back at being in school, and a lot of the time you feel very exposed, don't you, to the
but
judgments
of
of
course to be feeling weak again.
yeah.
That you need help and I don't, so I'm weak and you're strong.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, it would be really interesting to think about what helps create an environment, we do find here in Doncaster in the Wellness Centre, but generally, what makes an environment where it's quite natural to ask for help, and then for people to be able to find, just explore with you what the response is, because often people that's a conversation, isn't it? It's not an immediate button you're pressing.
One of the things that I'm finding where people need help a lot at the wellness centre is children with ADHD and autism send all the things that they need to do school to get help in school for support is not there. So people are getting more anxious and distressed, causing more mental health problems, creating more distance between them and schools because the children are not getting the right help in schools, and then they're getting fined for the children not going to school,
Yeah.
which creating more debt, more problems, more insecurity. The cycle continues. That's what I'm finding a lot lately around schools.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because I think, again, I don't know, like, I'm not an expert on these things, but folk I know with ADHD or some of these other learning patterns, different ways of learning, like, actually, is it so hard to find a way through that? It doesn't seem so. When you meet people on an individual basis, you can figure out a way forward, can't you? You look to their skills and you build on their skills, you build on their interests. Is it the form of schools being overly standardized, being overly rushed in some way, overly
Cost
tested?
cost is only a certain amount of budget,
Yeah,
so you can only have a certain amount of people on the sand list. So that means everybody else has to wait. So it creates a backlog, and before the backlog creates into years. So all these people are suffering because of financial costs. So there's no help for them because there's
yeah.
no budget to give them any help.
Does it make sense though to then have special education needs rather than just saying everybody's got special education needs? Would it not be smarter to make a system where we paid attention to every child?
Yeah,
Seems quite strange to create these two different systems. Really, there's always going to then be this kind of weird grouping. Like it's almost encouraging the mainstream system to give up on kids and push them towards a system that may or may not be able to take them anyway, and may not be any better when you get into it.
But that's also the same in the criminal justice system. It's also the same with probation. You ask for help, there's nobody to help you. But
Yeah,
then they tell you there's a loads of help out there that you can
yeah, yeah,
access, and you can access these things for housing and things to get you back into employment. And when you try asking the questions, okay, I'm ready to ask for help now. We haven't got no, we can't provide
yeah.
you any help because the money's gone, or there's nobody working in that field anymore.
Well, you're too complicated.
Yeah,
That's the one I remember. A women's centre, like women who, if you've got one label, you're in trouble. If you've got two labels, you're in real trouble. If you've got three labels, if you're dealing with the prison service, mental health and drugs and alcohol, God help you, because every service will declare that you're too complicated. So almost like the professional systems give up on the folk that have got
help
the most
inequalities,
labels
help inequalities.
really
Yeah,
quickly, I
if
think.
you're from a different culture, different religion, different background, non-white,
Yeah,
non-white, no English speaking, and you've got all that drugs, alcohol.
yeah,
You know what I mean? What help are you gonna get?
yeah. But then what they were doing, women in Kirklees and Halifax, was actually just women in the community started to organise help for other women. So again, a bit like PFG. So it's almost like at some level we need to get back to something much more human, much more basic, which says a lot of what we all each need from each other we already have. Yeah, it isn't in some box that's the special box. It's here right now. It just requires us to learn a bit more about each other, maybe.
I think the biggest outpouring of help and support in my lifetime, and I'm 53, has to be what happened at the miners' strike.
Oh,
Every family helping every family, sharing stuff, being around each other's homes, warmth, just total community, family knit, where everybody went in it together. It brought that sense of togetherness, that hope, demean, defiance, love, compassion, demean, just that battle hardy warrior on the pit lines with your family next door, fighting against the pit with the pit strike. That's my ultimate where people have helped and supported one
yeah.
another in my life.
But somehow we never able to bottle that. We've not been able to keep that. Just like we weren't able to keep that big outpouring in COVID, were we?
No, after COVID, that was saving COVID. People became needed each other. They had to support one another because there was nobody else. All everyone else had shut down. So where services had shut down, the communities were still open. I know the people focus group. We never shut for one day. We just adapted and were flexible and provided the service in a different way. But they're two big times in my life. And maybe the people come together through anger. I don't know what it was. People come together through disbelief. People will come together through forced intervention. I don't know. But the point I'm saying is it created something good out of something bad.
Yeah. We need some way though of keeping that spirit burning without the crisis, don't we?
Guess
I
we're
mean,
going back again now, haven't we?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it was almost like I remember at the time of COVID, people saying, well, a phrase that some of our friends used was build back better, by which they meant, as we start to recover from this, let's make sure that we learn the lessons and build them into the way society's organized. Did that happen? Did it heckers like? No,
Oh,
the
we're at
opposite.
clapping nurses now. We're all sacking nurses.
Yeah, yeah.
We're all clapping nurses, weren't we?
Yeah, and we, desperate to get people back into office blocks in the centre of town, even though it turned out that people were just as efficient when they were working at home.
So
We could
now
have we could have had a kind of neighbourhood-based economy, but no, for some reason we've got to get everybody back into
back
these
into office.
offices. And yeah, we discovered all of this capacity in our community, and now we've gone back to saying, oh no, we don't need any of that, or maybe we desperately do need it, but we don't know where to get it. But it's there.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I hope we can do in some of the work we're doing with neighbourhoods is re-find the pathway to open that back up. Because I think people loved that sense of community, didn't they?
Yeah. And that's why we are imperfect citizens. That's why we do this podcast. That's why we are who we are. To bring some of that humanness and some of that challenge and some of that wisdom and some of that critique and that staying curious about one another. That's why we do what we do.
Maybe this is a good point to end this episode of The Imperfect Citizens with me, Simon Duffy, and my friend.
Glyn Butcher. Thank you, everyone.
See you next time.